Welcome to another episode of True Self with KB. And I am so happy to do this interview with my friend. Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Isaiah Johnson. I am new to the city. I'm an artist, designer, and stylist, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
I like how you just switched up professionalism, but
That
okay,
code
so
switched real hard just now.
so this is officially the season 5. When I thought about season 5, I thought about it being your 1 year anniversary of you moving to New York to follow your dreams.
Yes.
And I'm not trying to make this into a KB on the road interview, but it's kind of like the same type of tone of like, um, tell us a story about like how'd you get here? Um, how'd you make a decision to get here? And what motivated you to stay here? Because I know there was a lot of trials and tribulations within that year.
Yes. Um,
And so my first question is, first, congratulations on being here for a whole year, because some people don't make it. So tell us what you do.
okay. Again, I'm an artist, a designer, and a stylist. Prior to that, I guess I still am. I still am a professional musician. I've been playing drums professionally for like almost 2 decades. I'm 25 now. I've been playing since about five, like at like a very like high level,
Mhm.
and that's definitely open some doors for me. Being here in the city. So yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell.
So when you first got here, what was your like? Um, because I feel like when you first enter uh this like dream thing and you going after something, you have this idea of how you want to start it and a timeline and all that. So how did you what was your first like expectation when you first got here?
My first expectation was to not get anything for like the first year of me being here.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
I really wanted to pace my expectations.
Mm,
Um,
amen. That's a word. Uh,
I wanted to pace my expectations because I was already moving to a new city. I didn't know very many people. Um, I love my family and they are as supportive as they can be, but they definitely were like, "This is a big deal. Like, this is a big thing you're doing. Are you sure?" Like just regular stuff. Like this, anybody would worry. Um, so for me, I was like, okay, don't come into this thinking that everything's just gonna shoot to the moon off the bat because I'm playing a long game. I was like, I knew I was playing a long game once I just made the decision to move here. I was like, it might take a year, it might take a few years, it might take, however many years to, get where I'm going. But I had to like really like pace myself. So the things that have happened for me in the last year is it was not on my Uno card and it is slingshotted me ahead of schedule than I thought.
okay, so I have a two-part question. So when you got here, what was the most important thing you had to do? And then the part two of that question would be fast forward to now, and what do you realize that wasn't the most important thing to do when you got here?
Um, I guess the most important thing that I felt I had to do when I first got to the city was I was like, I need a job. I was like, I need a job because I've been working since I was 14. I got my first, no, 13,
Oh
because
wow.
I was working at Six Flags and they thought I was older than I was because but either way. Um so that was the longest I'd ever gone without a job, like that first month and a half of me being in New York City. Shout out to my big brother Marcus and my brother Tyler, because they really, and and Sean too. They really took care of me that
Mm.
those first few months of me being here, because they knew, like, they were very understanding, like, you're like genuinely trying to like have your own, to pull your own weight when you move here. And so I was very incredibly blessed to have people like that, that looked out for me, that took care of me, that watched out for me while I was trying to get stuff together. And it prepared me for fast forward now on, I didn't know that I was signing up. Like, when you decide to become an artist, anybody who's an artist in any way, shape, or form, you or a creative, you are signing up for a world of uncertainty. Like, I mean, unlike anything I've ever experienced before. Like, and really like leaning into the fact that, like, of course, you gotta work, but I had to figure out a different way to work. So I had to, a thing for me was that I know now isn't as important, is, trying to do things conventionally, because it's an unconventional dream that I'm pursuing. So, and being flexible has really helped me in the spaces and getting to the places where I am even now, and in the rooms that I've been in recently, even very, very, very recently.
Yo, you said something so important. Honestly, like, going after something that's unconventional, and it's a lot of uncertainty. Yo, the amount of people I got interviewed about pursuing a dream, that's something that they had to learn on the way. Um, it's it's interesting because I don't know if I'm gonna cut this out or not, but um I went to visit a new church, one of my French churches, and her husband was like saying hi to a girl, and she was like, "Oh, I quit my job, and oh, fashion," pointed to me and her, saying, "Oh, you got that in common." Then she was like, "Oh yeah, like I had to quit my job." I'm just like, "All right, God, like I'm waiting to hear from you." And there's one thing I want people to know: when you are quitting a job, just be prepared. Like, I know we follow Christ and we know that he's going to provide, which he does no matter what. Not in the ways you expect him to provide, but he provides in ways that you have to really be on your journey to realize he's providing.
Real talk, because that's something, because it's not like I'm sitting around waiting for, waiting for that. Mind you, there's that dream job that's out there. There's that dream position that's out there. I know that it's more of a not yet. So in the meantime, I'm printing out and working and reworking my current resume, adding the things that I am doing to it.
Mm,
And physically, there are days where I didn't want to, and it felt embarrassing, but I would get up, borrow an outfit from one of my brothers,
yeah.
pound the pavement in Soho, physically walking my resume into these stores, physically walking my resume into these places, saying, "Hey, this is who I am. This is, and where you can't ignore me because you've seen my face, you've heard my voice, they're physically, actively, waking up at, you know, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, rolling over, and the first thing I'm on Indeed, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on this, actively. I feel like a lot of people, you have to actively work the dreams and things that you towards it. You have to actively work those things. And even, financially, every
Oh,
job that I, big or small, I could get $100 from playing here. I could get, $250 for working on set here. I'm paying my tithes. I'm like, God, I'm trusting you with what you've given me, and I'm grateful for what I do have, and I'm going to stretch it and work it as best as I can. And I know that you're going to provide for me to get more. And that's kind of the stance I had to take.
yeah, it's hard. And just because you trust in God does not mean you're not gonna go through things. Like,
Right. And you can't
Christians
sit.
struggle the most. I swear to God, Christians struggle the most.
Woo, be down, try dead. You hear me?
Struggling the most, and just like it's so hard sometimes. But what I went through kind of last year was just like I kind of went through this whole enjoying the journey.
Mm.
is different because you learn so much on the way. Like I've learned that I had to like learn how to make a website from scratch. I had to learn how to video edit. I had to learn.
Mm.
That's why I have multiple things in my bio because I've had to learn all that thing. And
Right.
it's like now I have to like make another separate like resume that I video edit now. Like it's a whole other thing. But I'm thanking God because he has made me a little bit more like multi-talented in a way. Like God, thanks. But because he's made me have to like learn these things and also like figure out another way to pay bills at the same time.
Right.
Figure out
Right.
another way. You know what I mean? Like that's something I had to learn to enjoy where I am at. I think that's why I have a little bit more peace
Mm.
about a lot of things. Um, and now when I'm just like, if it's for me, it's for me. If it's not, it's not. Let me leave it alone. Let me not dwell too much on it. Because I know what I bring and I know what I don't bring. And if you can find somebody else, that's cool. Keep pushing. You know what I mean? So yeah, enjoy the journey. It's so hard to say because when
Ooh,
you down and out,
that
okay.
is something that when I was just last week when I was styling, I styled, I got to style Giovanni Samuels and Brian Hearn for a press tour for a documentary they did for HBO. Um, and there was a day that came, it was the last day, and I'm packing up everything. I've already put the clothes away. I've already made the returns and stuff like that. And I'm just kind of sitting, just like, just taking a second, right? And Giovanni, she is, mind you, she's a rock star on and off. Like, I mean, like it's she's the real deal, and I have so much respect and love for her. She's checking in with me. She's like, "Hey, like, how are you? How are you holding up? This is pretty long week." And I'm like, I think, I'm still processing. And she's like, sit down. I said, what? She said, sit down. So I sit down, and she's like, like, this is what you did this week. Like, that's not small. You have to, like, she had to tell me, like, you have to allow yourself to enjoy the opportunity, like, to enjoy the accomplishment, to enjoy, the moment. And it's something that I've always kind of struggled with, of like letting myself enjoy or feel like I deserve, um, when good things happen, or great things happen to me. Um, and she like kind of made me like sit in it for a while. And like the longer I sat there with it, the more it made me want to cry like a baby. I was like, because these things, because you get up every day and you're like, okay, I got to work on this. I got to do this. I got to get here. I got to do this. I'm trying to, I'm like looking at this thing like, oh, this is the end goal, without really realizing it's like what I'm becoming in the process. That's actually the part that I need to be paying attention to. And not just, oh, I need to get here. And once I get there, I'll be happy. I'll get to rest. I get to do this. It's like, it may not happen that way. So the character development is not fun, but it's definitely it's definitely kind of I'm starting to see now, like, I need to enjoy more of this journey now. I think that's what my goal for this next year is going to be, me trying to like enjoy these moments as they come.
That was beautiful. Honestly, that's beautiful. Like that made me just want to cry just now. That's kind of wild. Um, she is lovely. She is very lovely. I've met her a couple of times. She's lovely. I really enjoy being around her as well. Um, like for someone to acknowledge you and how are you, like people, that's a people person for real, first of all.
Yeah, yeah, real bad.
That's a real skill you have to learn because
I
not
had to.
everybody does.
Not everybody's like that. Like, I kept downplaying what it was
Mhm.
doing, and she was like, her and the other Geo. and Brian were like, this is not small what you are doing. Like, this
Mhm.
is, uh, and not even like to try to pump my head up. They were genuinely saying, like, no, like, I've never been someone who has FOMO. I feel like to work in the sector of the industry that I'm working in, you have to be like, I'm okay with missing out. I'm okay with not being there for everything. My job is just to get you is to play the fairy godparent and get you to the door to have your moment, Um and I've done it for so long, and I've been there with other people for so many of their moments and accomplishments, because I'm not a hater, that now it's like, as these things are starting to roll in for me, I'm having a hard time accepting it. That it can happen for me, that it's happening for someone like me. Um so with that, having people there that are like, nah, like, you did that, you did this, you, like, especially for the things that I've done in the past, and that, we spoke about privately, that I didn't get credit for, that were pretty big, you know um and that I don't have to, like, it doesn't make me prideful or crazy to be like, nah, like, I did, like, that was amazing, like, thank you, God, for the opportunity that I got to do these amazing things. That's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, that is important. Like I always say, surround yourself with people that's in your field. Um that's a creative also, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Cause I'm more conscious of like how it's important to like be mindful of others, and to make sure to like uplift the other person, because that's important. I had to learn that, like, yo, 9 to 5 people, they can't understand a lot of the shit that I go through, because from their eyes, I haven't been doing shit for years. No, for real. Like, from their eyes, I haven't been doing shit for years. But like, yo, I work so hard to a point. Like, I am I'm trying to work smarter, not harder. Like, that's where I'm at now. Cause I
But I
can't.
mean, but the creative field is 90% hustle and 10% reward. Like,
Yeah, like to the point, like now I can't even like I'm happy you're starting to like really like enjoy, but I felt like I'm over that part. Like
mm, like, no, truly, like, it's most of the time, it's me starting projects and sending things off, and you may not hear from this person or hear from this project or for months on end, and then boom, you look up and, something that I sketched, okay, that's on the runway, I did this back in June.
yeah.
Or that's, this is something I did last year or 6 months ago. A lot of it, a big chunk of it, is all you just, I call it throwing paint on the wall in the dark and hoping that when you flip the light on, it's something beautiful.
Somebody said that once to me. I think I said it before in a previous episode. Like someone was like, you never know until you try.
Mm-hmm.
Can't tell the future. But I've learned to, even in the failures, to just kind of be like, okay, so I tried it and at least I tried it, you know. Can't say I didn't try it, and I got like different like perspectives of that, because I can no longer take failure as a real hit, as like a personal hit. It just like is another opportunity for me to like get better at something else. You know what
Right.
I mean? Did you learn how to handle disappointment?
I think my experiences leading up to me moving here tempered me to be able to handle disappointment better. Because prior to me moving to New York, I experienced, I want to say it was maybe about 5 years prior to me moving here, I experienced several setbacks, like major setbacks, enough to where, like, my one of my little sisters, who's like my best friend, you, like, the fact that you've never considered, um because she said it more as like an observation. She's like, the things that I've seen you like sit through, because I've kind of been that person. I never got a chance um to like run from stuff. I was kind of made to like kind of stick through it, you know, and sit with the things. She was upfront. She's like, the fact that you never considered taking your own life with the magnitude of what you experienced and like a certain level of like, you know, disappointment and embarrassment, and you still came out the other side and you weren't bitter or angry with people. Um, I think those experiences tempered me to be able to handle when things out here don't go my way, when you don't get the job, when you don't get the opportunity that you want so bad, when you know, when you're not recognized and all those things. To where now those things just, they kind of roll off my back. Um, so I'm grateful that I moved here after having had those experiences, because otherwise, yeah, I probably would have crumbled under that. But now it's like I've experienced things that prior to me even moving here that I think gave me the right temperament to be able to handle disappointment.
Yeah, that's great. That's really good because, boy, when I tell you, I still have trouble with disappointment, but
I mean, yeah,
like
it's not
it's on another level. I feel like your disappointment starts to go on different levels of different things though.
right.
Like my disappointment is more like personal. If someone says they're gonna show up and they don't show up, I think that's something that I get really hard about.
Mm,
Um and I remember like because I always try to fix things. I'm trying to fix like let me like fix my eyes on something else. Let me just try to look at it another thing and blah, blah. Like instead of trying to work through it,
mm,
I'm trying to put my attention on something else so I could forget about it quicker.
mm.
So yeah, that's my thing now.
I guess for me, it kind of starts with acknowledging how disappointed I am. And
Yes.
that's that
Okay.
part, because that part when you're trying to like just kind of like get over something, you'll be like, okay, well, you know, and you won't acknowledge how said things like are making you feel. And I think that's something that I've started to do like more recently. Um, because like when I was in therapy, my therapist had told me, he said, it's I could give you the steps or whatever towards being, you know, towards, you know, you being happier, yada yada, but it's you, the solution, and in between you and the solution is a mountain of emotion that you need to address. And not it's until you
I
address
needed that word. I needed that word. Okay.
that you get to the solution once you start to address how things make you feel. And so that's something that I've started to do, because I was always teased for being like sensitive and stuff like that growing up. So I got to a point where I would actively try to avoid how things made me feel, because I didn't want to I didn't want it to just be lumped into the fact that, oh, Isaiah is being sensitive. Now I'm at the point where it's like, if I'm telling you how something's making me feel, I'm giving you a chance to honor my boundary, um, and honor it in a non-condescending way. So if that makes me sensitive to you with me establishing a boundary, then so be it. But
I feel like we do need to normalize like that. I'm being able to speak up, not get offended by people's things. On a previous episode of last season, don't get offended. Plug.
you better
But
plug. You better plug on last season, previously on like
I gotta plug this stuff.
with it. I'm with it. Okay.
So we talked about it. Are you easily offended? So in this industry, you cannot be easily offended.
You
That
can't.
is something that I feel like I was I was born into having to learn not to get offended because of a Caribbean household I grew up in.
Mm,
So that had pushed me to like I feel like I had to deal with the stuff in the house first for me to get in the real world and notice that, you know what I mean? Like,
As someone who grew up a younger sibling, mind you, I'm one of 9 children. I have 3 sisters and 5 brothers. And being the youngest boy, all my brothers are older than me. And then, having an older sister, I had to kind of learn, like I had to learn now, like people outside of my family can't really say all that much. I'm pretty quick, you know. But when I get around those jokers, I'm still the little brother, very much so. So even in that taught me, like, you can't over direct your your feelings, as far as like, because I'll shoot you first and you didn't even pull a gun out, simply because you're trying to I'm trying to protect my own feelings, and that's not fair, because everyone isn't always trying to attack you, or and that's something that I had to learn. Shout out to younger siblings, because to some degree, we let a lot of stuff slide in the name of, well, I'll say middle children, because I'm in between. I have an older brother and a younger sister. I'm in between those two. And even with that, I learned, like, there's a lot of things that I let slide, but the things that I do address, I have every right to. And there's nothing wrong with addressing that. And when you're learning to adult with your siblings, because we're all adults now, it's a new journey that you're on.
It's a whole new journey when you're growing up and you're like acknowledging things differently. And then, and yeah, as a sibling, your sibling's always gonna look like the child you grew up with. Like,
right. But that's even something that I had to practice with my younger sisters. Like, they're not little girls anymore. They're women now. They have thoughts and opinions, and they have big problems for them. I can't diminish that just because they're younger than me. There are things that they're gonna go through that I won't know the experience of, A, because I'm not a woman, but B, because that's just whatever, their path is different than mine. I can't diminish what they're experiencing simply because they are younger than me. And I think a lot more, like, sibling groups would have an easier time seeing each other and feeling for each other, if we acknowledge that everybody at one point, adulthood is the ultimate equalizer.
oh yeah, that's true.
Like, granted, there's still some things that you're gonna know, but my own experiences and things that have tempered me that you've never experienced, how can you take that away from me as my human experience? I might have something that you may need to hear someday.
Yeah, man, I tell you, especially when it comes to, like, when I first started going like freelance, and it was so difficult because I was in a place that I was not even supported at all. Like, when I started keeping a closet, I was living with my sister at the time, and she made these comments that I swear the enemy used that bitch, boy.
I'm sorry. You just killed me a little bit with that one. I had to come back to life.
I probably talk about this all the time, but she like came for my whole thing when people were donating. Like, people were legit donating some good clothes. Like, I had some friends she used to design for, like, I think the company that used to be over Victoria's Secret. I feel like she was one of the apparel designers, and she gave me like sample stuff. She gave me cute shit in the beginning, yo. My sister legit looked at me and was like, "Oh, people donating stuff with cats because I'm allergic." I was like, "What are you talking about?" I'm getting an allergic reaction. I think somebody's donating stuff with cats. I'm like, nah, nobody had cats that I got stuff from. She just like, oh. And then she used to say, because this was back in like 2017, I think, or
Mm.
20. Yeah, it got to be like 2015, probably actually. 2015, 2014. She said something like, um, what did she say again? What she said? Oh, no one's buying online. No one's buying online, so I don't know why you're doing an online shop. Well, what am I a trailblazer for doing an online thrift shop or something? Like,
But that's the thing. It's one of those things where I had to learn early on to be uh, very protective over my own dreams and endeavors,
mm-hmm.
and when and when not to share certain things, especially when they're in their like infancy with me. Um, and sometimes it's not it's not because our families are just like trying to be mean or anything. It's more so based out of like, it oftentimes comes out of worry that they can
Yeah, so that's something too. You have to learn like where's everybody's advice is coming from.
Mhm.
One, yeah, they worried about you. Like I had to know the difference between like my mom is worried about me. She's not, because this is an unconventional path.
Right.
Even though she swear up and down, oh, you should become a nurse, blah 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 blah. I don't know why Caribbeans always say nurse, but anyway.
Well, I mean,
But
think about stable. It's a stable income. It's something.
stable income. So anything
I
that
worked
looks
in
a little
education for five
shaky,
years. I get it.
anything looks a little shaky, they don't get. So I feel like there was no sort of support from my circle. That's why I switched up like my friends. Um, I went to a church where people that went to like that all were a community of like creatives. That's
Mhm.
how I gained most of my friendships that I still have to this day. And like I had to shift that whole thing around. And I don't know if that church wasn't there for me. I don't know where I would have been, honestly, because they the one really encouraged and pushed me to do like where I'm at today. Like I don't even know, man. It was wild.
No, finding your people is something that now that's something that I definitely, this is a first for me. Is, mind you, I have friends back home that I've been friends with since, I mean, some of us go back to like high school, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And some are a little more recent than that. But the friends that I made, here and back home, even if that wasn't I wasn't on the same path as them, they don't even really have to be doing the same thing as you. They just gotta be someone that's like, look, you're my friend. I'm with you till the wheels fall off, regardless. If it goes great, great, we win. If it fails, I'm still here for you.
Oh yeah.
And and that's kind of the I was blessed enough to find people that not only feel that way about me but are also creative, and that makes having conversations like this so gratifying, and so because they understand that you're in the pursuit of something that's very non-linear.
Yeah.
It's not a straight line. It's not, oh, if you do I could do 12 steps of how this person got to where they're going and it not work for me you
Yes.
know
And also, yeah, people's journey, their own journey is
it's
differently. Their
so different.
timeline is different. So that's
And
one
that's
thing
something
you
that
have
I
to.
had to tell myself mentally when I got to this city of, it may not happen in your 20s. That's something that I think a lot of people need, like especially like younger people. A lot of younger people need to make their peace with the fact that like it may not happen for you in your 20s. It may happen in your 30s. It might happen, but you just got to stick with it. And that's something that I had to. It's not realistic.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're extremely lucky if you get to be a millionaire on the 30 under 30. But that takes there's a degree of luck, and or you just were born into the right circumstances. You happen to be in the right place. Or you happen to do something successful at the right time. And you have to be okay with that.
Yo, when I tell you, you have to. Okay, so another thing is like defining success is a whole other ordeal now.
Oh God. You gotta have a house. You gotta have you know, be living in a high-rise apartment on the Upper East Side.
No, you know what? My definition of success definitely has changed over the years, but I do like the congratulations and all that for the stuff I've done. But my definition of success is like living on my own. That is success to me.
Yes.
That's the bare minimum for me right now.
Like for me, what I define as success, I'm able to live comfortably,
Mhm.
travel, and see my family when I like, see the world, doing those things, meeting my basic needs off of doing what it is that I love. That to me is the successful life that I'm after. I'm not asking to be rich. Definitely not asking to be famous. But fame comes with too much other stuff. Um, I will much rather
No.
my friends, have the people in my life that I love, be able to meet amazing, creative people, see the world, pay my bills, have a nice little nest egg for savings, have a nice place to stay, all off of making my living by doing what it is that I love to do. And that's the
Mm.
goal that I'm after. That's what I'm after currently.
Yeah.
Um,
Like I get all that, but yo, honestly, that is what success should look like for most Americans. Okay.
mhm.
I definitely get that for real, man. Such a long road. Long, long.
It took me 10 years just to get to be having this conversation with you right now. So I get
You
it.
know, man, I'm telling you, like, I feel like everything I've been through had led me to start this podcast. Just for like me wanting to have an honest place to have a conversation. Um, Not to just grab a mic to just have a mic. That's why
Because
I don't
everybody doesn't need a mic.
not
We
everybody
need
needs a
we
place.
need to they need to do psych evaluations before they hand out mics. Be like, are you gonna say something crazy?
It's more about like having honest conversation, asking yourself the right questions.
Right.
Um, oh, before we end, think of a question you want the listeners and viewers to ask themselves before we end. I'll ask you at the end
Okay.
because that's the thing about true self. We ask questions to get to the root to the problem.
Right.
That's what this is about. Your praying life. How much has it evolved since you've been here?
it's, it's been, oh my God. It's definitely changed.
Mhm.
Like I like a lot of things that I didn't understand like growing up, I know better now. As far as like how to really like I'm walking into these and I'm taking meetings and going to networking events and things like that without a dollar in my pocket.
Mm.
Really just trusting like, oh my God, like you see me, I'm in here, like I'm working this thing, like I like, you know, and really being like whatever success you give me, like you can trust me with it.
Mm.
Trying to and actively trying to do right by the people that I come in contact with. Um, I'm like, Lord, I'm not crooked, I'm not sleazy. I'm trying to do things right. I'm not trying to step on nobody to get where I'm going.
Oh
Uh,
God, what a mess.
like no, seriously though, like that's something that I care about. If
Yes,
I can get to a successful place in my career where I can then turn around and open the door for other people, I feel like
honestly, that is something that's important for people to know, yo. Like when you get into certain places, remember there's people behind you, yo. Like that's something I'll always make
and
sure.
not even just behind you, but the people next to you, the people that are like prime example. And this is not to say that I'm like some saint or anything like that, but like so when the styling opportunity that I recently got, I know my dream ultimately is to have my own brand. That's always been a dream of mine. It's always been something. My brand currently is not up yet. It's in its infancy stage.
Also,
And,
not to like cut you off,
Mhm.
but be okay with things being on the back burner sometimes. Go ahead.
Right. And and as much as I would like to be like, ooh, look, they're wearing what I made, da 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 da, my mind goes, I know some already established people who 1,000% deserve to have their work shown. So I call up who I know. I'm saying, hey, let me borrow this, and it'll be on this show, or it'll be on that, and it creates the opportunity for them because somebody might spot them, and it may create an opportunity for them, you know. And it's something where it's like, I feel like whatever success that I do get, it's not just for me.
Yeah,
It's so way I can lift up and amplify the voices of people who I know are smarter than me, people that I know are, have something important to say. They just don't have the platform yet. So
yeah,
I'm building mine brick by brick with the intention of these people deserve a shot. So I need to make sure that I get mine.
yeah. That's important. Honestly, yeah. Always keep that in mind, for real.
That's how I work. Because somebody gave me a shot. Somebody took a chance on me.
Yo, like for real. Like I I see what certain industries. I won't even be specific this time because that last
This
interview, I had to
industry,
cut so
the
much shit
industry
out. I
is
had
its
to,
own thing.
I had to cut so much shit out because we were talking so much shit. Like I'm just being real, like not gonna say anything at all now.
Just the industry.
In certain industries, I feel um like the older people, um, they have this certain way of how they did things and they treated people. And then you have some people that work underneath them that picked up those same nasty traits and they
Mm,
feel like it's okay to treat people like that.
right.
So I'm gonna say this. I don't even know. I just do this just because I love this podcast. But it's be careful of the things you take with you when you are hiring people underneath you.
Mm.
So that's another thing people have to be aware of too now. So um yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about that.
No, that's the truth. I feel like my mom would always say, um, someone people may forget what you said, they may even forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them
Made
feel.
them feel, oh my
And,
god.
and that I think is one of the most powerful things ever. And so I make it my business. I go out of my way to make sure that everyone that I work with knows how appreciative that I am of them,
Yeah,
how much I respect them, how much I think that their work is necessary.
yeah.
No such thing as a little project to me. Um, there's no such thing as a little project. If it's a stepping stone towards where you're going, that's not little. That's not small.
Oh
And
my god.
don't treat it as such. You need to bring your best work. I remember I DM'd Miss Linda at LSO Designs. She was designing for Outkast and
Oof.
Macy Gray and like every popular neo soul and pop group and act of the late '90s and early 2000s. She did a lot of their looks.
Oh my god, that's so amazing.
I DM'd her and I just told her how big a fan I was of hers, and she was so kind, and she responded back, and she was like, "I'm gonna be watching," you know,
Oh,
uh, it's a big deal, you know. But
yeah,
she said, "Make sure you finish what you start. Make sure that you're on point and treat everybody kindly. That'll make people remember you."
yo, let me tell you because I went to we did a couple shirts for the show and he at this shop he makes custom made shirts for like the shows in Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
I went to go pick up a shirt that I guess someone ruined and he like revamped it and made it amazing. So he gave me a whole tour and was like, because he knew it was like my first time picking up there. He's like, yeah, like I'm nice to everybody, even assistants, because you don't know who they become. Which
That's the truth.
valid reason. Now, when I get big enough budget, I can go back to him because how he treated me. You know what I mean? Like,
You never, but that's the thing. You never know what or who somebody becomes, and your kindness or your vitriol can be what shoots that person to the moon. Where either if you were kind to them and they go off and become successful, they'll remember you and be like, you know what, you were nice to me, you took care of me, y'all. This is who. And then you're in a room that you never thought that you would be in,
yeah,
or you could be that person that they go, oh, okay, I'll show you, and then next thing you know, they're mentioning you in an interview for being a hater. Like you you want the former, not the latter. So
it's
so
true.
you just gotta do right by people. Be kind to everybody. Like I, just be kind to everybody. It's something that it takes nothing from you to treat people like. Even I apply that to my personal life. Like I've ended friendships behind somebody being mean to a waiter. Like A, you're putting my meal in jeopardy, but B, this person is at work. Like I'm pretty sure they don't want to be here all that much either, but they're trying to put their best foot forward. So don't be mean to the, and this is going to anybody who sees this. Don't be mean to waiters. Don't be mean to service people. Don't be mean to people in general. But specifically, if you're working with someone and they're assisting you or they're helping you or providing you some sort of service and it's active, it's obvious that they're trying, give them some grace. Give them some grace. And you don't know who they're gonna be. They may own the very restaurant that you're rude to them at, and you get no service because of that. So hey,
Yeah, man.
be nice.
Be nice to people.
Be
Be
nice.
kind.
That's be
The one thing
nice.
you say about New Yorkers, we're kind, we're not nice. You know, we will help you,
Mm-hmm.
but that's it. We'll walk away after we help you. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
we help you as
You,
much as we
you
can.
only get one. You
And
get
then
one
you
New
gotta
York
figure it out.
piece.
Okay, so what do you think hearing from God looks like for you? Because I feel like hearing from God is different for everybody. I like to watch interviews. I feel like I'm hearing from God through that, or to kind of motivate me in the timing that I need. Um, and some through friendships too. So I feel like those are important.
I guess for me, hearing from God comes from, the good old fashioned word of the Lord.
Word.
Uh, that, um, sometimes it's when I sit down and I'm at church and I listen to my pastor and he's talking, it could be just what I needed to hear for that, or that little bit of advice that I needed. Sometimes it's talking to my mom, a lot of times it's talking to my dad. And he'll say something that, I may not tell him at the time, but it'll speak to what I'm, experiencing.
Mhm.
Also, I feel like God also comes through, even more subtle forms like that, just like those gut feelings you get about things and places and people.
Yeah.
Um, where it's like if it doesn't feel right or something doesn't sit right, then I'm like, okay, Lord, maybe it's you trying to, prepare me, protect me from something or somebody. Um, and that, that uneasy feeling sometimes that you may get with certain things and certain situations. I think a lot of people, they'll be like, oh, I just have this gut feeling. Like sometimes I think that's God trying to protect us. Also, it's God talks in ideas. He talks in, I remember Victoria Monet said in an interview, she's like, God sends ideas in the wind and it's up to you to grab it. Because, like, think about it. Like, you have an idea about something and you let it kind of fade. And then the next thing you know, you see somebody else did it and you're like, oh my God. Like,
He was just looking that up. They call it parallel thinking or something like that.
so, like, I really believe that when God drops something on you, he's dropping it on somebody else. And it's not
Yeah,
necessarily competition on who gets it first, but it's more so of like you have to be vigilant about what's being given to you. Like I sleep with a notebook. Like I sleep with a notebook near my bed.
I tried that thing, but now it's just a massage gun, you know. My
No,
back acting up. I got sciatica.
well, for me, it's more of like because I'm a designer first.
Yes.
I have a pen. I'm always like I could have a dream. I could see a dress in a dream. I will roll over,
I have dreams like that.
turn on the sketch the dress out roughly, and then I'm like, I'll do it in the morning. Sketch it out roughly, roll over, and go back to sleep. It's being vigilant about of your gift, vigilant with how to direct your gift, and that's not just that's in everything. I feel like a lot of artistic people, they're not just good at one thing. 9 times out of 10, they do multiple things. They just specialize in an area.
You have to know how to do multiple things. Very true.
So sometimes it's me. Sometimes it comes from, I feel like God sends it in those ideas. Sometimes he sends it in, if I'm on the train and I see something and it just, my eyes fixate on it, something goes, okay, let me snap a photo of that real quick and put that in my bank. It's those ideas of like being hyper vigilant with looking for where potential is. I think God talks to us through that. I think the creative journey is a faith walk anyway.
That's why I said to someone, how can someone go after a dream and not love God? Like, I was like saying that to a friend. I was like, yo, like God is in everything.
And
Like,
the act of creating is, I think, it's the most, because I think God gives us those experiences so that we can understand him more. And it's the same sort of protection and love that you feel over an idea or over, and that extends to creating life, having children, the people that have kids. Like you spend time creating something or working on something to, watching it grow. And that level of protection and care that you feel, I think, is God trying to show us in different instances how he wants to protect and care about us.
yeah.
Do we always let him?
The one thing I admired about you when you first moved here was like you had to find a church home. And I'm about to cry.
That definitely was an important thing for me, just because I didn't want to. I might not do everything completely right, but I wanted to be in a space where I could always be receptive of the truth. And because I feel like a lot of the times people talk about their truth, like, oh, I'm saying my truth. I'm saying what's true to me. I'm saying it's true, rather than like hearing like the truth. And I feel like church, while it's not perfect, it's one of those things where you need to stay in a place where someone can give you a reality check and kind of tell you to get a grip. And having boundaries is important, because it's really easy to lose sight of the journey that you're on, because you get caught up in just trying to live or trying to be everywhere and stuff like that. And I think for me, like, one of the centering things for me is like making sure that I'm there at church, making sure that I'm involved. Much as I can be, as busy as I am, I still try to make sure that I'm involved. And it helps to kind of remind you of what all this is about. And I think that's an important thing that I don't ever want to lose. I want to stay in a place where I can still be receptive of the truth, and someone can be 100% honest with me, and I can be receptive of that.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good one. Oh my gosh, this was a great conversation.
Conversation.
I felt like you were perfect for this because I'm gonna tell you a little thing. I knew he was gonna make it a year. That's one thing I knew. And
girl, I was ready to go at month 3. I was like, I don't know if I can. I was so close to calling my mom. I think I called you that day, actually.
You did?
I think I called you that day because I was like, I cannot keep, because I took a job that I hated. And that's what taught me that I had to change my work style, right? But I called you or whatever, and I was like, I don't know, like, and I started thinking, I was like, I could call my mom today. I could probably be back home in like maybe a week, 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I started really thinking of like how I was gonna, figure out how to do it, because I was like, it didn't feel like I was doing anything towards where I was headed. And I'm glad I stuck it through. Shout out to my therapist. Because he's like, give it 6 months. Like, give it 6 months. Like, really try to, like, give it 6 months. So that way, so I scheduled my visit back home 6 months out from me moving to the city. And one of my very, very dear friends, shout out to Amir, he actually paid for my first ticket back home because I didn't have the money to pay for it. And he let me pay him back. He's like, hey, I get your situation, let me cover your ticket. When you get paid and stuff like that, pay me back as you can go. I'll always be grateful to him for that. And that was going to be my deciding factor on if I would come back to New York or not.
Mm.
So when I went home, I spent about 10 days there thinking like, if I do stay, what's my plan B? And by the end of my trip back home, and it was coming down to the time for me to start packing up to go back, I was like, I don't have a plan B. I got to ride this dream till the wheels fall off. I got to really see this through. And
yeah,
that was what helped me. So when I got back from that trip, quit that job in a hot New York minute, and have not looked back since, thank the Lord. But since then, it's opportunity after opportunity has kind of just rolled in, and I'm so grateful. Are things perfect? No, but I'm definitely in a space where now it's like I feel like I made a year in New York. I can make it anywhere. Okay.
Yeah, I knew he was gonna stay here. The minute you made it past 3 to 4 months, already planned to have you on the podcast.
I didn't even know that. That's crazy.
Yeah, I planned this a while. I planned this a year ago for him to be on this podcast because, like, I feel like you can probably help somebody out. You know what I mean? You can probably help somebody else move to another city knowing that they're gonna be fine. But you gotta do what God. I'm sorry.
You gotta, and you definitely have to, mind you, and it wasn't easy to make the jump.
Never gonna be easy. And then
we'd be here for a whole different kind of interview if I was to tell you what the process was to get to making the decision. But making the decision after the initial fear of making the decision, you're like, okay, I'm already here.
Yeah.
So let's make the best of it. Let's work the best of it. Let's try our best. Let's give everything that we have to make this work. And I'm okay. And that's the part that I'm happy about.
Yeah, you're gonna be fine. It might seem like it. It might not ever feel like it. I do handle chaos a little differently now.
It is not preferred, and I try to be. Mind you, I'm a control freak, like very much so.
I should just rename this podcast "Control What You Can" because I say this all the time.
Control what you can, even if it's little stuff. If it's I'm gonna do something that makes me happy today. If it's as small as going for a walk in the park, do that. If it's as small as reading a book, if it's as small as spend $1 and get yourself a piece of candy like you're in second grade, do that. Like take the little joys that and that's something that I learned. Like I had to prioritize the things that make me happy and the things that bring me joy whilst working towards something, or else it'll eat you alive.
Did you think of your question that you want to ask people to ask themselves?
Yes. I guess my question to you all out there in the world: are you ready to make the jump?
I love that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, just are you ready to make the jump?
Beautiful, beautiful ending. I love this. Thank you for joining season 5.
Well, that's 5. But no, we gonna speak 10. 10, and by that point, you know, we'll have a production team. Okay,
sponsors in Jesus' name.
you know, have a we'll have a nice little studio space. So next time I come, I'll be on a couch.
I feel like if I ever get a space, I'm doing too much in that space. I already got KB in your closet. I'm gonna have a podcast in that space. I'm gonna
You know what's crazy? I'm wearing the T-shirt that I bought when we were out. Like, I'm wearing the T-shirt that I bought from Savant Studios when we first, like my first week in New York, which is like crazy.
Oh my God.
I didn't even realize that until just now. I was like, oh shoot, I'm wearing the T-shirt that I bought when, like, my first week in New York.
That's so crazy. I love that. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate this conversation so much. And it was very enlightening. There was some parts that I didn't even know that. So I didn't know you were ready to move within 6 months. That's crazy.
It was tough, but you know that time was tough for me. So but
yeah, I was always trying to tell you like, yo, it's gonna be tough, but stick it out. But I feel like I try to do it the most simpler way I could to deliver it that way. I don't know if I ever came across as it, but look, I tried.
Now, you one thing you told me that I always will appreciate you for is everything is temporary. You told me that, and I really took that to heart, and I took that with me. So when things get tough, I remember everything is temporary. Everything is temporary, and that's the good thing about life. But that's one of the hardest things about life too.
Because it feels like
forever.
it's gonna last forever. Yes, that's the mind thing. It feels like forever, but everything is temporary. It's so difficult. I could cry.
I'm sorry, I ain't trying to get the waterworks going, but yeah, that's one of the things that I will always be grateful to you for. That's one of the best pieces of advice that I've gotten since I moved here. Was everything is temporary, and my mom says, like, stick around for the good part. Because it's coming. The good part is coming. You just have to hang out for it.
Amen. I love that.
No, thank you, and I love you so dearly, and thank you for having me in this space and on your platform, and taking the chance, kid from nowhere.
I love you for it.
Love you too.